welcome to ManchTalk. I'm Tammy Simmons, I'm your host, and I'm here in Concord today up at the State House. I came up to watch a press conference in support of school choice. Senate Bill 193 will be voted on in the State House this Thursday, and there was a press conference with a bunch of speakers in support of school choice and education savings accounts for the kids here in New Hampshire. I'm going to switch over now to some video from that press conference, and I'll check back in afterwards.
Representatives to support Senate Bill 193. By now you've heard all the false narratives being thrown out by opponents of the bill. But let's take a moment to step back and understand the bigger picture of what we are trying to accomplish. ESAs provide students and families the ability to investigate and select the educational forum that best suits their needs. The best school for a child may offer smaller class sizes, a vocational technical program, or a move-on-when-ready system for gifted students, or a particular expertise with a child's special needs. In addition to better serving our students, choice will empower their parents to get engaged in their children's education. These reforms will create better accountability in education, the single biggest factor in improving academic performance. Some critics of school choice fail to appreciate that school choice is neither an indictment on public schools nor a battle of public versus private schooling. It's about giving disadvantaged and special needs students and their families the opportunity to excel in an education that fits their needs. Facilitating scholarships to disadvantaged and special needs students should not be a partisan issue. After all, few object to scholarships to attend colleges and universities. Why should we wait that long to offer students a chance for educational success? We must close the educational opportunity gap for every student in our state. ESAs are about looking to the future in education, a future starkly different from today. We know the 21st century school must be different than the 19th and 20th century system we're still living with. But how? That's the role of innovation, a process that is, by its nature, incremental, testing for successes while leaving behind what proves ineffective. Choices in education will kickstart that innovation process. Sincerely, Christopher T. Sununu, Governor of the State of New Hampshire. Thank you.
Good morning and welcome. Thank you for being here today. To my friends and colleagues in the House, this is our opportunity to show our commitment to new and innovative education programs in our state. This bill establishes a program that will give less fortunate families the chance to explore education options that may not normally be within their reach. Several of our education and finance policy experts have been working on this legislation for months, and some for years. They've worked with stakeholders to identify and fix issues along the way. We've added reasonable safeguards to ensure our public schools continue to be strong and well-funded. And the bill has been tailored to ensure those with the greatest financial needs are the beneficiaries of the program in this first stage. This bill has seen more thorough, thoughtful, and detailed work as any bill I've seen in my years here in Concord. And we appreciate all the time and effort the working groups and advocates have put in. My friends, now is the time to move forward on this important bill and extend education opportunities across our state. Let's come together to pass the Umberger Amendment and pass the bill this week. This bill is good for education. It's good for kids. I don't want this chance to make a real difference pass us by. Thank you.
First is Maura Ryan.
Hi, I just wanted to let you know I'm not a public speaker and I don't even play one on TV. So please bear with me while I just try to get a couple of talking points. And I did want to say one thing. For those of you representatives who haven't made up your mind about the bill or don't understand kids with disabilities, Rich Gerard did go to some IEP meetings to see what parents go through. And myself being a veteran and someone who is in the military, there are days where dealing with the public schools like going through a war a second time. So I'm going to talk about my son. Each child has unique needs, talents, and goals. By extension, a one-size-fits-all education will not succeed. Families across New Hampshire are sharing their stories with us about what educational opportunities mean to them. We are honored to share them as part of our Family Profile series. My local school district was unable to help my son. My son has autism, dyslexia, ADHD, and dysgraphia. There are a lot of kids who have learning differences. There is the IEP system, which is difficult for my son because he is in the 99th percentile for IQ, but socially he's very awkward, sort of like, I don't know how to explain it. He has difficulty interacting with people, so even though he's very smart, he can't necessarily function in social situations. My son originally attended our local public school, but he wasn't really succeeding or thriving. The school urged me to give it time. First, they assured me that things would improve. Then they told me that my child was simply not that smart. But something seemed off about what they were saying, and I wasn't quite sure what to do. My child would talk about the collapse of the economy as easily as talking about the Pokemon cards, and if anybody needs to know about mortgage credit default swaps, he knows everything. I had my kid tested and diagnosed, but the school argued with the doctors and refused to acknowledge some of his diagnoses, which they still do to this day. In the interim, my child was floundering. He wasn't outright failing, but he wasn't succeeding either. We hung in this limbo of needs improvement. Every parent-teacher conference centered on what is wrong with your kid, but not with solutions on how to make my child successful. And even after getting a diagnosis and recommendations from an experienced developmental pediatrician who teaches at Harvard Medical School, the school took 3 years to write an IEP with inadequate supports because they refused to acknowledge all of my son's challenges. My son has some amazing gifts. He has a love of science and math. As I said, he keeps swing stocks better than anyone I know. Both are areas where my son excels. And with a push for STEM-related jobs, I would feel like he would do well in the job market. The unfortunate thing is the school is not slating him to be someone who would get a job. And that is something that concerns me because someday I will not be here and I want him to be self-sufficient. My feeling is he has the potential to have a viable future. The problem is that once a child has an IEP, the level of education for that child, required for that child, falls to a very low standard. Rather than being required to meet the same standards as other students, the standard falls to a bare minimum level of progress. This meant that the teachers were no longer invested in having my child succeed because the standards were now lower. I tried everything I could do to improve this situation and future opportunities, but to no avail. In frustration, I withdrew my child from public school to put him in another school. And I just have to tell you, the military pays $1,683, so I am not wealthy by any means, but I do want to pursue other opportunities for my son. The public school was no longer the place for my child. It's a large school which added to his anxiety. Access to gifted classes was denied without consideration. In fact, there was a pervasive attitude that any level of challenge would be too difficult, too trying, and unfair to other students. This was despite the fact that my child had already completed geometry in 7th grade in a private math program. My child was instead tasked with learning to read a ruler, which was boring and inappropriate for a kid who regularly reads science textbooks for fun. After elementary school, all supports in a mainstream classroom became inaccessible. My kid was placed in a resource room with other kids with IEPs and a huge variation in learning abilities. It's critical that students with autism be around neurotypical peers to understand behavior, and that opportunity was not there. The public school wanted to schedule a few classes, 4, which would limit the opportunity to get a high school diploma and destroy any chance of a college education and a career in science. In an effort to consolidate costs, the school created a separate and unequal education for children with disabilities. Putting my child in another school enabled mainstreaming and more classes, a chance at a future and a job. After all, kids don't remain kids forever. They do grow up, and as parents, we can't be there forever. tools to support themselves. Naysayers will argue that putting my child in another school means losing out on the IEP. However, when the IEP is not working, there is no reasonable recourse. And frankly, if it's not working, there's no reason to retain it, and public school is not invested and has no impetus to see my child succeed. Every school district has approximately 20% of their entire population of children with a disability. If we aren't giving them the tools to support themselves, we will have large portions of our newly minted labor force unable to equally participate in jobs. By opening up school choice, we're opening up educational opportunities that lead to jobs and independent living. The goal of IDEA is independent living, and I don't feel like it's being lived up to. We need as many people as possible in the workforce, both to provide our kids with the ability to be a part of the community, increasing their self-esteem and feelings of self-worth, as well as providing them with opportunities for social mobility and advanced education. I strongly encourage everyone who is looking at any legislation for kids with disabilities to talk to parents who have kids in the school with disabilities. Thank you.
I support this bill, and because I believe, after all the research I've done since its introduction several years ago, this will benefit children, taxpayers, families, and the school system. The empirical research also shows that it improves racial integration and academic outcomes for everyone. Now, the three myths, we've heard those this morning, and I'd like to touch on them again, because these are the three that we hear repeatedly. They're related to funding, accountability, and the separation of church and state. I believe at the root of all these myths is a fear of change, a fear of the unknown, a fear of the what-ifs, and an incomplete understanding of what's out there. Let's talk about funding for a second. With $17 bills, each representing $1,000, 12 of them represent the fixed cost of an education for a child in New Hampshire. That's the money that we need to keep the lights turned on, to pay the teacher salaries, pensions. It's money that we pay for debt service. 5 of those, $5,000, is the per student variable cost. This is money for textbooks and supplies and software licenses. Under this ESA program, it's around half of that $5,000 would follow the child. Now, that normally follows a child anyway when the child chooses a different district. So now it will go with the child who chooses to be under a parent-directed education plan or under a private school, but that leaves $1,000 to $2,000 or more remaining in the public school system, so that leaves more money per child. With the way this bill is written, I think there is no way this can do any harm financially to the public schools. Second myth, it's accountability. All right, this is a funny one because I think the schools and our state still cannot define what is good accountability for our schools. So until we can come to agreement on it, we're going to keep wrestling. Is it test scores? Is it graduation rates? Is it job placement? What is going to define what a successful school is? If it's test scores, are we really happy with the 50 and 40 percentiles that we see for proficiency on the proficiency test in our public schools? What about college readiness? How many kids need remedial instruction when they get to college? Private schools do have accountability. They have rules that they have to follow, there's tracking methods, and they do testing. Parent-directed education also has accountability. Under this bill, they have to do yearly tests that are norm or criterion referenced. The next myth, separation of church and state. This has been tried in the courts countless times. It has been found that if a parent has funding and they have the choice, many choices of how to use that funding, if they do choose to use it for some religious instruction, then that is constitutional. It's also been found, as in the Missouri playground case this year, that if we say funds can go to anyone and anything except for religious schools, then that is a hindrance to the free exercise clause. So I think it's a myth that this is a violation of separation in church and state, and I believe that if it's brought up into a legal battle, that it is just an effort to stall the ESA program. Another myth is we have school choice. They have lots of options. But the squeezed middle class and the low income do not. I'm a home educator, and I often counsel and help parents who are struggling in the public school system. These are usually very astute, hardworking, involved parents, but for one reason or another, their child is not doing well. These parents have tried to make the schools better, usually to no avail. So what's at the root of spreading all these myths? I think it's fear of change. Well, the world is a changing place. It's constantly changing. We need a school system that will adapt to that. I think that the fear of competition is unfounded. Competition will cause us to change, and it will bring about improved public schools as well as improved outcomes for those who choose school choice programs. The other fear is rooted in things they don't understand. I think people know very little about private schools and how they're run, the same as charter schools. I think people also know very little about homeschooling. I'm given questions all the time. What they conveniently ignore is the studies that show homeschooling is one of the only school methods that has been proven to close the achievement gap. Also, what if? What if a parent makes the wrong choice? Well, parents will make some poor choices. So will teachers and administrators. What if the ESAs take off and the demand grows for them? What will that mean? What if there's a religious school and they teach kids that there could be some scientific evidence for a young earth? Is this scary? No. It's giving parents a choice, and what the research shows is parents, even those who are poor and minorities, can make good decisions when they're given options. All these fears and lies have been causing a hugely detrimental effect in our society. They're preventing New Hampshire children from accessing educational materials, supplies, and tutoring that's available now in the 21st century. I believe we can access curriculums, environments, class sizes, teachers that match our students. It's kind of like how as adults, we have the ability to choose our work environment. If we don't like our work, we don't like a boss, we have the ability to go somewhere else and work. Those who receive food stamps can take those to any grocery store. Those who are in Medicare and Medicaid, they have choices on who their doctor is. So I think having a choice in education is a matter of human dignity. And I think if we're honest with ourselves, we know that this is also a matter of saving lives. Those children who are out there suffering in the schools day to day, who cry on a daily basis, whose stomach hurts. If you have not talked to parents who have had those, then you just haven't talked enough, because those kids are out there and they're suffering, and we see suicide rates on the climb. So I think we need to have a school system that will allow for parents to have more choices. In the end, this helps everybody. Schools save money, kids are happy, taxpayers are happy, and we get more involved parents.
Well, there you have it. That was bits from the press conference held this morning at the State House regarding educational savings accounts and SB 193. If you support school choice like I do, you should contact your state representatives today and tell them to support SB 193, which will be voted on this Thursday when the House meets in session. Coming up in the next few weeks, there's a few interesting events going on that I wanted to tell you about. The first is this Thursday, May 3rd, from 4 to 9 p.m. on Elm Street. It's the Cinco de Hippo Taco Challenge. It's an annual event that's put on by Hippo Press, and you go downtown and you walk around and you go from place to place and you purchase tacos for $2. There's over 50 participants, and a taco isn't the same old thing. There could be chocolate tacos and ice cream tacos and Greek tacos and who knows what. Dan and I have done it. We have tons of fun doing it. There's no charge to participate. You just pay for whatever tacos you choose to buy. Again, that's this Thursday, May 3rd from 4 to 9 p.m. on Elm Street. Coming up on Saturday, the New Hampshire Audubon Society will be hosting a Birds and Bagels event at the Massabesic Audubon Center located on Audubon Way in Auburn. There is a charge for this event, so you do need to register. It's going to be a walk and a talk about migratory birds, and they'll have some bagel treat bags along the way. You can get more information about it and register at nhaudubon.org. Coming up on Sunday, the Manchester Firing Line is doing an Intro to Gun Ownership event. It is a free seminar for new gun owners or for those purchasing, considering purchasing a firearm. There's going to be a lot of information about gun safety and how to, make sure you're doing things properly, and range etiquette and things like that. There is no charge for this event, but you do need to register, and their website is gunsnh.com. Now, next Saturday, May 12th, will be the first plant sale that I've come across so far this year. The Hooksett Historical Society, in conjunction with the Griffin Library, will be doing their second annual plant sale and quilt show. This will take place on May 12th from 9 to noon. They're located at 102 Hooksett Road in Auburn. So just before Mother's Day, and for those of you who got the gardening bug like I do, it's a great way to get some local plants to plant in your garden. I wanted to remind folks that the Manchester Republican Committee meets on the third Wednesday of the month, every month. That means in May we'll be meeting on Wednesday, May 16th. We meet at 6 at Murphy's Tap Room, and we'd love to see some new faces. So if you're inclined, come on down and join us. We have our meeting at 6, and we stay afterwards and socialize a bit. So we'd love to see some people there. Also, the Manchester Republican Committee is participating in the New Horizons Walk Against Hunger. That takes place on Sunday, May 20th. It kicks off at Veterans Park at noon, and the Manchester Republican Committee is organizing a team of folks to walk in that event. It is a dog-friendly event, so if you want to come with your dog, that would be great too. If you can't join the team, but you would like to help us raise money to fight hunger in our community, you can get information about this or about our monthly meetings on the Manchester Republican Committee website at manchestergop.com. Lastly, I wanted to mention that on Thursday, June 14th, the Manchester Republican Committee, in conjunction with For a Better Manchester PAC and Concerned Taxpayers of Manchester, will be hosting a 90th birthday gala celebrating 90 wonderful years of former city mayor Ray Wazorek. Great guy, was former mayor and executive counselor, and we're going to be celebrating his 90th birthday at the Executive Court on Thursday, June 14th. You can get tickets and more information about that also at manchestergop.com. If you have any questions about anything I talked about in the show today, or if you have any ideas about some places you'd like to see me video or subject matter you'd like to see me cover, you can email me directly at manchtalk@gmail.com. I do my best to return those emails promptly. You can also follow me on Facebook at ManchTalk. Otherwise, that's really all I have for this week. Get out there, enjoy that great weather. It's going to be like 80 on Thursday. So get out, take a walk, see some of the beauty that we have right here in Manchester. And then until then, I'll see you next week. Bye.